David Jubb.
Thanks, Silver Bear. Thank you guys for coming today. Because I thought what I do with everyone here is to give you the inside skinny, the real truth of weight loss. And how could it be, we all know people who, they pride themselves that they're just eating little and they're really exercising like crazy too, but they're staying fat. It's like, what's up, It's amazing because when I decided, I really should do a lecture about this, there was in the New York Times a doctor who was head of the American Heart Association, and of course they do some wonderful things. Everybody just sort of does something really wonderful. But anyway, in this article, this doctor who was head of the American Heart Association was really lamenting, you know what? I've been following my own advice. I've been following what the Heart Association has recommended for people, and I'm getting out there and I'm doing 3-4 miles at least 5 times a week, and I'm eating little, but how come I've got this big belly? Something just seems to be a little amiss here, And so this doctor was lamenting, it's so amazing that it's possible to really be exercising plenty, eating little, and staying fat. So let's talk a little bit about this right off the cuff, because we're only with each other for this short time, and I really would love it that I can really give you the inside scoop where you are, and it's possible for you to really be able to tap this with friends and others that you know, and it's possible for them to get this really secret information, which is, to me, I don't think is secret. But why do other people other than talk about this? That surprises me. Yes. One thing is, certainly lots of people can give incomplete information, and, well, to me, I feel people are coming from their heart, but they're sometimes maybe other than really knowing. The very first thing is, did you know that all of the acids, primarily in nature, that happen to us, end up getting stored very close by in fat cells around our thighs, our butt, our gut, and typically the upper arms. Now, it's so amazing that the fat cells we're born with in these areas have a receptor. This receptor is 4 times more powerful for cortisol. What is cortisol? Can anybody tell me what cortisol is? It's a stress hormone. That's right. Whenever there's abdominal or digestive stress, cortisol is released. Now, nature perfectly designed us. It goes, oh my God, cortisol is being released? Well, what's up? What's going on? Cortisol is being released. Oh my God. The receptors that are close by for cortisol happen to be in our fat cells round our abdomen, round our thighs, and round our upper arms. Nature perfectly wanted to be able to make sure that all acid that came from digestive disturbance could be stored somewhere, because it cannot get into the blood. And if it is in the blood, the body has to do everything it can to put that somewhere. So, nature perfectly designed us. Whenever stress, gastrointestinal stress, dysbiosis, over-acidity from overeating, lack of things sort of really being broken down properly, that ferment and putrefy in here, cortisol would be released under the stress of that, and the fat cells around the tummy, the thighs and the back of your arms would be able to be open to receive those excess acids. So, someone could be eating little, exercising plenty, but have a constitution where silent inflammation has been present in the intestinal tract, and no matter what, I tell you, you could eat like a bird, even only once a week, and it doesn't mean necessarily that you would lose weight. You could be getting out there like that doctor from the president of the Heart Association, exercising and really following that good advice, but not having been able to reduce the belly. And that's what this doctor was lamenting about. It's like, oh my God, I've got this belly, I've got water in here, It's like, and I'm doing all this exercise. It's like, what's up? This is like, it's so amazing because people who do exercise, even if they're overweight, they have a better health than someone who is relatively thin but doesn't exercise. Exercise is important, but it's not the key ingredient necessarily for weight loss. And I'm describing what is. The first we've talked a little about is cortisol's management. Cortisol has to be managed. As cortisol is managed, it means that fat is no longer being stored in the butt, in the stomach, and on the arms. Fat cells around our abdomen in these places have 4 times more receptors for cortisol than any other fat cell. Silent inflammation being managed more here is very important. There are in greens and other roots and fruits substances that are like omega-3 fats. Plants that have omega-3 fats, essential fatty acids in that leaf, in that fruit, in that root, can cause the body to produce phosphatidylserine. This is only one of many substances that can be produced. Phosphatidylserine is a primary substance that causes you to have memory, that causes your brain cells to be able to transport something from its membrane all the way through to the DNA. Without phosphatidylserine, there can be very little messenger activity in your brain cells, in your nerve cells. Phosphatidylserine is a primary substance which blocks cortisol. Phosphatidylserine, well, you can find purslane is a very amazing green that it's in, but what do I have? I have it in olive leaf, in hawthorn berry leaf and flower, in oak moss, in various roots from nature. Okay, so there's roots, there's wild roots, all wild roots from nature, not like a carrot, but like burdock root, all roots from nature. Anything that comes from nature as a root has these substances.
Carrot?
No, you see, carrot is not natural. Carrot came from Queen Anne's lace, which does have this, but carrot, no. Carrot was being slowly hybridized and selected over eons until finally we got this carrot. But it's not like anything that will grow in nature. But all things more from nature have these. things which really are close to nature in its whole food form. One way is to be able to bring some of these things in which help build cortisol. Is it on?
It's going, yeah.
It's going?
It's going.
Okay, thanks. Okay, great. People listening to this tape today, I really want to do what I can to make sure that you have the absolute essence of what to do as far as weight loss is concerned. Because a lot of people have just been counting empty, dead, skeletonized calories and managing that. And it's like, whoa, what's that? That's not going to help at all. You have to have fuel to fuel weight loss. You actually have to keep your sodium and your mineral content of your blood full when you cleanse. And your cleansing should not have any cleansing reactions at all. Because if you're cleaning through your bowel, that's the way to do this. Shouldn't be cleaning through the blood or the breath or anything else. We've got to increase your motility of food through your intestine 3 or 4 times that you would defecate in a day. So we're increasing the amount of times that you defecate 3 or 4 times. It has to be done in a way that's smooth and natural. This, what we're talking about, is something a pregnant mother could have or a nursing mother could have. Because if it says on the bottle, gee, if you're pregnant or if you're nursing, don't take this product. It's like all the rest of us should, maybe not consider doing that either. I mean, because to me, I feel you have a brand new baby within you that is sensitive to all kinds of things that affect DNA and RNA and this sort of a thing. When it says don't take this if you're pregnant, really don't take this if you're pregnant. Don't take this if you're breastfeeding. That's a sure sign for the rest of us. Hey, that's the skull and crossbones. Project that onto that product because it's not good for someone in this state. It's like, gee, it's not good for me. So everything that we do should really be something which you can do if you are pregnant or if you are breastfeeding. And these things should be basically inert, not poisonous. So, we should not take a laxative because the laxative means there's something in that that's poisoning the body to dump. But you can take an evacuative, something which has natural forces that food in the wild has that assists you to evacuate your bowels. It causes bile flow. It does it naturally. It doesn't make you have such a watery stool that, but an evacuative loosens up naturally. It causes your stool, even just no matter what you ate, to be like when it forms in the bowl, when it's there, it's formed, but any disturbance of the water, it breaks apart. It's just a stool which breaks apart. This is a healthy stool. We need 3 or 4 of these a day. So cortisol is a primary substance that's in the intestinal tract produced under the influence of food not moving through the intestine very well, change acids and things from the food itself, causing inflammation, all kinds of material like strange protein and runaway sugars which raise cortisol. Live food doesn't raise cortisol except under the influence of food not moving very well. So on this program, you're going to do what you can to get your bowels moving. So cortisol, we have to manage stress. How is it when somebody comes, they're a stockbroker and they're working on the floor here in New York and, oh my God, their life is just a shambles. There's no recreation, no leisure, and there's a lot of stress. Stress has to be managed if you're interested in true weight loss. Our intestinal flora have to be primed perfectly because our intestinal flora produce a substance called conjugated linoleic acid, CLA. Unless you have CLA raised in your body, there can be no fat broken down. Fat disappears fast from all the places it's stored as you have proper levels of conjugated linoleic acid. The only way that you can have proper levels of conjugated linoleic acid is to restore the important friendly bacteria in your intestinal tract. One of the primary substances that you're supposed to have in your intestinal tract is L. salivarius and L. planetarium. These are the organisms that came to you from your mum's breast. If you didn't have breast milk, chances are that you, other than have L. salivarius and L. planetarium as organisms within your intestinal tract, they are the only organisms with actually implant. All other Acidophilus, Bifidobacterium, and Casey, all these other organisms are transients. You have to continuously take an Acidophilus product like that every 3 days at least to have some effect, because they only will last a maximum of 3 days in your intestinal tract. Salivarius and L. planetarium are Rolls Royces of Acidophilus. This is the only kind of Acidophilus that I recommend from the clinic, is L. salivarius and L. planetarium. And the reason why is because it was cultured from breast milk. It is the actual organisms human beings are meant to have. And what's so amazing about these organisms is, have one of these and it sneaks it past the upper tummy. Every 20 minutes that ticks by, those organisms will double its weight in your intestinal tract. If you are out there and you have food poisoning or you have Giardia or something, this is one of the only things that will turn it round within 5 hours, 3-5 hours. Nothing in modern medicine that will kill Giardia, turn it around like that so quickly. Food poisoning and this sort of thing, dysbiotic bacteria. Yes, you can do. Yes, you can do. Well, some of the most amazing things that you can do straight away is to, I know you may listen have heard of this, but is to do some urine therapy, because the antitoxin is in your blood. The antibody is already in your blood from anything that happened like that, and it alerts your body systemically to a condition that you can have locally. And it educates your immune system fiercely to go after and clear and clean this up, this condition. Urine therapy is something. Oh, yes, the L. salivarius and L. planetarium. If once you take that, you take a course of this, you'll build this up in your body. That's what's so amazing. Well, all kinds of things that one can have done, like coffee and all sorts of things, can have little by little always done a number on your friendly intestinal flora. But for the most part, it is the only organism that actually can survive with oxygen. It's the only organism that can survive in an acid terrain. It's very powerful. When you take these herbal antibiotics, for instance, it will allow your L. salivarius and L. planetarium to remain, and only goes after dysbiotic organisms. Whereas a pharmaceutical herbal antibiotic goes after one phase. And it goes after this phase here, which I'll pass this round. So a pharmaceutical antibiotic only goes after this phase, that's all. It doesn't even get rid of any of this. But when you do like a juniper herbal antibiotic or a usnea herbal antibiotic, you're getting rid of all of these dysbiotic phases of organisms that's bridged the interior of the body. It gets rid of all of it and it brings you back to this healthy cycle here. You can pass this around and have a quick little bit of a look at this. I'd like to get that one back. So we all have, because of an acid condition of foods, we have a condition within this very tiny spore, which modern medicine doesn't even consider to be life because they can't find DNA or RNA in that. So they wonder, gee, has that got life? We don't know. I mean, it has to have DNA or RNA if it's got life. But life arises without any DNA or RNA through a process of aggregation, fusion and differentiation. which is the way these colloids come together. And these tiny colloids come together and form a spore, and this spore, which is found in all the cattle, the plasma of the sheep, which is in all the vaccines, which they go, well, gee, we got these unidentified stuff in there, we don't even know what that is. It produces this harder outer shell of calcium phosphate. Calcium phosphate builds up in the body over eons. Every 3 years that pass by of your life, from this big onward, it doubles its weight. To have something which can clear this away, because calcium phosphate stored in the body is sharp, corrosive, it creates inflammation, raises cortisol. You have to be doing things to block cortisol's effect. So we have one formula which is called our Wild-Zymes, and this Wild-Zymes formula blocks cortisol. Its primary substance within it is blocking cortisol. You have protein degradation inside the cell through a process called ubiquitin. Ubiquitin is a molecule which, when it's activated, it turns over and changes degraded protein within the cell. Have substances that's within this plant-based formula which helps activate ubiquitin for helping clear aging pigment and all of these strange proteins from being in. Yes, that's correct. On this program, your blood will remain exactly at 85 milligrams per deciliter. Because the only things you bring in are things which your liver can release. There is not anything that you bring in that causes pancreatic function. Everything you bring in can double 1-for-1 for insulin. Everything you bring in creates a greater electric tension on the cell membrane, creates a greater sensitivity to insulin. I know many, many people who had diabetes and they healed up on this program. We have to reduce this abdominal weight. We have to manage cortisol. We have to raise conjugated linoleic acid. We have to increase the motility of food through the intestine to be normal. We have to cause more bile flow, which is the very force that stimulates the pancreas to release insulin. It's healing this up completely. You have to have your blood sugar remain at 85 milligrams per deciliter perfectly, because it guards against shock. There can be no anaphylactic or prophylactic shock. And I'm a physiologist. Most programs are not designed to guard against anaphylactic or prophylactic shock. Most programs are not designed by a doctor. But if you ask a doctor what is the most serious situation if you go to hospital, they'll say you have to remain hydrated and your blood sugar has to remain level. And they do that in the way they do. But I do it in another way, more natural completely.
Get off the medication in this program?
Absolutely. You're able to get off all poisons and all chemicals. Yes. And there's a way to do this so nicely. Okay, Silver Bear, and then we have a question up the back.
The question was asked a couple times.
Oh, it's a feast. Well, a fast. But it's a feast. You know, they just spell it wrong. But what is it? It's simply fasting from, because fasting means the absence of something. So your absence from TV, reading dangerous stuff in the newspaper. No, here's what you're doing. You're fasting from breakfast. Breakfast. You fast from breakfast.
No breakfast?
Right. But be kind in general. Maybe you need a little something. So you fast from breakfast. So you hydrate your blood. That's the most important thing. In the morning. All food starts once the noon comes. Only. But there's rest before that. So you fast from breakfast. You fast from cooked food. You fast from starch. Fast from solid food. Oh, dairy's sort of like flesh food, but it's not flesh food, but it's sort of, no animal product. Huh? Eggs, no eggs either, because that's the flesh. That's the body of an animal. But you might enjoy eggs. So there's no breakfast, there's no cooked food, there's no starch, there's no solid food, and there's no flesh food. No flesh, no starch, no cooked, no solid, no breakfast. So there's 5 things that you abstain from. That's all. Gee, that's nothing. You can put anything in your blender as long as it's not starch, flesh, or cooked. You can put anything in your blender as long as it's not starch, flesh, or cooked. You can munch on a bit of celery if you want to. You can crunch on something if you need to. You can have crackers, dehydrated things, as long as it was blended somewhere there, and most of it's blended or ground down. But then you have to really chew this up.
How do you have
So amazing that you're able to have something whenever you love on this program, except no breakfast. You can have a herbal tea or something. See, we have an easy tea. I have an easy tea, which is a mood elevator and appetite suppressant. That's one of our most popular teas. Why? Because you can have distress. You can have a sip of this within seconds. The distress is gone. It's like, oh my God. It has major powerful COX-2 inhibitors in it. But you cannot have this if you're on drugs.
It's a liquid or what?
It's a powder.
With what?
Yes, you can. But if you're on drugs, you can't have this. Why? Because the drug will quadruple the effect of the tea. It can make you feel quite drunk. You feel so high.
when you're saying drugs?
Monoamine oxidase inhibitors, anybody who's on pharmaceutical for depression, it will quadruple the effect of the formula.
But it's like a prescription, like
That's fine. But mood elevating drugs you cannot have whilst you're on this formula because it's a mood elevator. It's a very potent mood elevator. Somebody could have had a little alcohol, that will be okay. That won't affect this. But they could feel a bit more drunk.
What about blood pressure?
You see? Blood pressure is fine, but you eventually got to clear that away. Your blood pressure all reduces and comes back to normal. Okay, cat down the back and then over here.
People, they are burning.
Yes.
Is this dangerous?
Yes, it can be. That's right. It could be. Someone really needs to go about organising things by doing a cleanse to get their organs back more vitally. Because if I just really did a lot of starch and cooked food, and then all of a sudden I jumped into this, I could eventually have some sort of cleansing reaction. Because I'm maybe not moving my bowels very well. I can have backload. Food that I eat might not be being broken down properly, but put on top of something which doesn't work so well. I recommend typically that somebody might do what they can to actually start to cleanse and build their organs back.
Like a liver cleanse?
Yes, like a liver or like a 14-day Lifefood nutritional fast. Okay, we've got a question over here, and then down the back here, and then up the front.
I usually start in the morning with
Yes.
lemonade formula.
Yes.
You suggest I shouldn't start that until the noon?
Yes. Yeah. Because that's a real food. And we're better off doing what we can to rest. Because these little workers sometimes never had a vacation, you know?
Night is not enough. All night.
Oh, it's supposed to rest all night.
Yeah.
But then it's supposed to rest in the morning. But the only rest doesn't rest properly at night. Why? Because there's typically food in the intestinal tract.
There's no activity.
Once you defecate that out, between the time frame of you having defecated and when next you start to bring things in is the only time of absolute rest. That's the only time of absolute rest. And so, you know, if somebody is defecating but then they're starting to eat straight away, there's very little rest actually. Very little rest. The rest occurs completely from not breaking your fast if you can help it. Okay, down the back and then in the middle.
So what about nuts?
Some nuts may not necessarily be good for everyone because they can have gliadins in it, which when somebody has a gluten sensitivity, nuts might not necessarily be good. Not any one food by itself could be necessarily good for everyone, but typically most people can do okay on nuts generally, you know, if it's done more with live food. That's so wonderful. That's a great question because the greatest doctor is the doctor inside you.
If you don't die, it's good.
Yes. if you feel okay, for people who have an eating slender strategy, they have a great eating slender strategy because because they actually can feel, what does the food feel like after you eat it? Does it feel okay? Before you eat that, does it feel okay? Can you remember what it was like last time? If you feel good, then go ahead and have that. That's called an eating slender strategy. People do that in their mind, basically. Okay, down the back, and then here.
Is there a way to look at someone?
Amazing that you can have the most sophisticated reading you've ever had, more powerful than any calibrated piece of equipment, from a human being. Human beings who are tuned in, they have far more greater capacity than a computer or a blood test or anything else to know what's going on. You know, there is no more sophisticated calibrated piece of equipment on the earth than human beings for knowing what's below the earth. Minerals, petroleum, all this sort of thing, you know, water. A human being that's calibrated can totally read your hand, read your writing, read your book, read your hair. They can read you like a book and tell you what's going on inside. And there's ways to observe a person and tell straight away the very things that's going on inside. Now, I used to do live blood cell analysis. I did so much of this. I taught people long before live blood cell analysis even became popular or even known. Oxidative stress test, how to read this, live blood cell analysis and this sort of a thing. And after a short while, I could tell you what was going on when you called me up on the phone. I could see your blood right there. Everything. I didn't have to go through all that fancy piece of equipment to get to the bottom of things. I became like a doctor beyond any border, completely. I didn't need any sophisticated piece of equipment except moi. And I can hold your hands, look in your eyes, look at your face, hear your voice. Someone can hold a relative in their mind, and I can work with this person thousands of miles away. Once you develop this insight, it's indelible. And when you find a heart in one person, you don't have to look in everyone to know that everyone has a heart. You don't have to look in thousands. You can only find a heart in one person, and you can know that everybody has a heart. You don't have to look inside everyone else. Based on an ancient Sufi personality typing, that story, the characters in the story. Richard the Lionheart is sort of like somebody who really wants to do good, but often feels sometimes like they could be put upon because they're doing this sort of thing, and they can feel that's a personality typing of the lion-heartedness. That's a Sufi ancient personality typing, which that book is about. Calcium phosphate. Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. The juniper and usnea goes after all this dysbiotic spore. This dysbiotic sporulative forms, it goes after all of those. The juniper goes after these, and then everything else is gone after with the usnea. It wipes it out. And then the alpha and omega chelates that calcium phosphate and pulls it out of the body. So the juniper and usnea and the Walzheim's formula helps with the process of clathration. And the alpha and omega is a very powerful chelative, most powerful natural sort of chelation in the world. So if you just did that but you didn't cleanse, you still pull a lot of this stuff out during the time that you do this.
What about the microscopic parasites?
These microscopic parasites are formed as a result of an acid terrain, and these plant-based organics goes after them. It goes after them.
But those that migrate from one
It totally causes you to have a blood-borne inhibitor present, which a healthy person has, which blocks the expression of these. That's right. That's right. So it's possible to bring something in to help fortify the blood, to cause the blood-borne inhibitors, to block the expression of all of this. Okay. They do. Peanuts, first of all, have an undigestible plant protein in there, even though they taste delicious. Well, peanut is not a nut. But peanut is really a bad one. Because if you suffer from gluten or gliadin or glutenin intolerance because of celiac, then absolutely peanut you do bad with. Yes, of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you know that weight loss, I'm so glad you brought this up because there's a substance that's released as you feel creative. As you feel creative in your life and you feel creative in your day, you feel creative person, you feel like you're tapping your creative potential, you are producing substances which help with weight loss. So only as a result of you feeling creative. So typically if somebody can have intimacy and they feel still intimate toward their beingness, then it's possible for someone to be able to have this force harnessed. Yes. Having ability to be able to be intimate because one doesn't have any conditions. One has the ability to be able to be creative. You really have substances that's released. So, having a healthy animus, not an unhealthy animus. Having a healthy animus as attested to by the flowers and the trees in nature and the peacock's feather. It all attests to the strongest force in nature and being able to access this within ourselves.
One question about weight loss.
Apple cider vinegar can be very marvellous, only unpasteurised, but no other vinegar. Malic acid is in the Krebs cycle and can be broken down perfectly, whereas acetic acid from fruit vinegars, no, you cannot have. But malic acid can be very helpful, very, very helpful, and it's bringing Acidophilus bifidobacterium and casei in, which can be very, very helpful as a body flora. Marvellous. And then you bring in marine minerals, which has enormous amount of magnesium that can get rid of fibromyalgic symptoms, where there's stiffness of the muscles and things. It can heal this up. Wonderful. But apple cider is not necessarily good for everybody. I mean, I did so many apples before I started to go without food completely, and I thought I'd live off apple juice, but I was shocked to feel that the only thing I thought I would live off, my body came back and told me no, and I went back to get it 2-3 days in a row, and every time I did, my body said no, adamantly, and that had never done that before, and I never had another apple ever since. That was in 1995. I have never had an apple ever since, but I was a fiend for apples. I lived off apples.
What do you live on now?
Mainly I live off my own urine. Although I'm doing calorie restriction now. Occasionally I have a salad. I have a little arugula, or I have a wild salad.
But you drink
A little. No.
You don't?
No.
So how do you produce?
I do sometimes, have a drug, like I have a coffee actually.
How do you do it? How do you?
I don't produce much, but if I drink, I will produce exactly the amount I drank. And then I drink that. I drink my urine. Okay, New York Magazine is having, I'm not sure when it's coming out, but New York Magazine done an interview a little with me about this. Is my body handle water?
No.
When you drink, you will pee exactly the amount that you drank.
If you have a glass of water?
If you want to hydrate your blood as you can, because you generally need to hydrate, but hydration requires you being able to bring something that's more mineralized in, typically. It's better to hydrate with a little sun-dried sea salt or something like that a little in the morning to hydrate yourself. But the best is fresh urine, because there's an enormous amount of melatonin in it. And a charged water, you could learn how to structure water. It's so amazing how time flies. It's unbelievable. Let's see what we can do to...
How much urine do you drink?
I drink most of mine what I produce, except sometimes that I know that I'm going to kiss Jenny and I think, should I drink this one? I'm thinking, I don't know. But and she doesn't even know.
When you're toxic, though, maybe you should.
When you're toxic, that's the only time you should drink it. You should never drink it if you're not toxic, because what's the reason for that? But everybody's got some toxin, so you should drink it. But if you're toxic, you should really drink your urine. There could be 200 times more toxins in the urine than there is regularly, which that's nothing compared to what's in the feces. Billions and billions and billions of times more toxins in the feces. What little bit that is can be 200 times more in your urine is nothing, and that can easily be swept out through the intestinal tract. What's useful can be reabsorbed. It's so wonderful. People can have, through alchemy, helped themselves from being poisoned because they drank the urine. It does have enough to raise your antibodies and antitoxin. Yeah, but then it has so many other things which actually assist with the cleansing. You see? You know, it's so amazing that I love mine. You know, and it has to taste like a good brew. It's like that beer can't be too weak, or that fruit juice can't be watered down. It's like, whoa, that doesn't taste like the real thing. And now, honest to God, it has to be body temperature, thank you. It kind of chilled any? No, gee, that doesn't taste right to me at all. Eventually it can get to the place where you love it. Now, I love it. It is my favourite beverage today. Yes, there's nothing more delicious to me. You are cleansing, but why not actually do this whether you're cleansing or not? Because it will give you a long life. It will oxygenate your body. It has anti-mold, anti-fungus, anti-yeast properties. Well, the first morning's urine, catch it midstream and drink what you feel you can from it. Start with maybe only 2 or 3 ounces, but why not work your way up to 6 or 7 if you've got it? You know, it's so marvellous. It's so incredible. There's nothing more powerful for us. That's right. Cleopatra, it was one of her secret teachings. She spritzed herself with her own urine. Yes, she did. She drank it too. The ancient Egyptians did this. Okay, question. Well, if you have to. Yes, you can dilute it. You can put a little lemon in there, change the flavour. Yeah. You can have a shower, catch some and splash it on your face and start. Gosh, it's so incredible. I would recommend to begin. Please. It's so incredible. Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's so very important if you do it when you're having a regular diet, because you're bringing in the antibody and antitoxins. Okay, down the back. Alden. Catch it midstream, because there could be a little pus in the urethra, but even that's fine. Okay, question over here and then over here.
I was going to share with you that we didn't...
Amazing, because most kids have tasted pee. Most people, whether you're aware of it or not, you have at least tasted it. But why not taste it? It's so amazing, you know. Or you've drank cow's milk with blood from cows, really, basically. Okay, that's a great question. When you pee, what you peed out was very powerful compared to what you drank. So now it kind of seems like crazy. How could that be? Because what we're drinking is so poor, and what you're peeing out is so good in comparison. So what we're drinking is true, is really poisonous and unstructured and terrible and filthy. And what we're peeing out is our very good substance to make room to process that. So when we urinate, we're not really urinating out what is useless. We're urinating for various reasons. One of the primary reasons you urinate is because we can only have 10 gallons of saline solution in our body at one period of time. If you bring some in, what's got to happen? You've got to make room for that. You pee. You can pee until you've got no more hydrotropic elements. Most people who drink, they drink, and they get drier and drier and drier and drier and drier. So most doctors, they think that the kidneys are an organ of detoxification. The brain is as much an organ of detoxification as the kidneys are. The chief organ of detoxification is the liver, not the kidneys.
What kind of water do you think?
The very best water, that's such a great question. The very best water is a water that's already comes from inside something. The very best water is a water that's never seen light, because it has a property of levity.
How about coconut water?
It's never seen light. But But Thai coconuts have all been radiated. Thai coconuts have all gone through a formaldehyde bath. Coconut water is very delicious, incredible, wonderful. A water from the inside of a fruit that never saw any light. Good to see you, Mark. I hope everybody knows Mark. He's the person who really is primarily responsible for everybody being here and enjoying their show.
Someone wants to see.
Thank you, Mark, and everybody should know, make sure they've seen Mark around. Thank you, Mark. He does a great job, unbelievable.
No, thank you, everybody.
From a well, if that water came out at 42 degrees, it came out from a dark place, it gushed out of the earth, even if it came out from out of the top of the mountain, has the property of levity. It's a water that's okay. It's like a life water. But life water is the primary water that we can have. We can teach people how to make this. You can come to my shop and I can give you a seed water, which you can make your own water at home like this out of this seed water. Once you've got this water, you can forever have this water. And it's got the tiniest, smallest hexagonal pattern of water in nature. It's water as old as the universe. It's called life water.
How about distilled water?
Distilled can be made like this water, but distilled water tends to have fluoride in it still because it's so small, even through the evaporation. And if distilled water is actually frozen and then remineralized after it's frozen and thawed out, you could use that. Reverse osmosis water needs to be remineralized, and it tends to actually have a scattered pattern. But you can put a little of this seed water into that, and you could remineralize it slightly, and that is a very powerful structured water. It's life water. But water has to not see light. It has to be more in the dark to have its properties of levity. I remineralize pure water with sun-dried sea salt. Seawater, if it's fresh, it can be very powerful if you add this to your water, a little small amount. Sea salt is dehydrated seawater.
That can be Happy's product.
Huh?
That can be Happy's product.
Those of you who are listening to the table, you're writing notes down, you could come down to 508 East 12th Street, New York City, New York. You could call 353-5000, 212. That's New York City, 212. 353-5000. You could go to Amazon.com and look up the Lifefood recipe book, Secrets of an Alkaline Body, or the book that we have coming out. You can pre-order. That's a very powerful book. It's called Jubb Cell Rejuvenation. There is no work on the earth that puts all of this together more powerfully than these works. Coming out. Alden down the back here has just been... Have you?
He said it was coming in July.
Yeah, it's coming out. I think it's like a month away, right? 4 weeks away. Okay. Alden is just getting the materials back to the publisher after final edit. So it's going to come out straight away. Yeah. It's a very, very amazing work. Close to Avenue A. Come down because we've got great life food. It's all takeout.
One more question about
Formic acid.
formic acid
Yes.
and like the humic acid.
Oh yes. Very, very amazing. Did you know when you get stung by a wasp? Did you know when you get stung by a bee? Did you know that the body naturally produces, wherever you have inflammation, it produces substances that really assist the whole, open up all the lymphatic. Your lymphatic system is like a major highway where all macromolecules, which are larger than what can fit into the blood, are transported through the lymphatic system. Some things that you can do help assist the body open up its lymphatic system and cause lymph to flow. No matter what the healing is, it has its effect because it causes lymph to flow. It assists the whole lymphatic system flow.
How about trampolining?
Trampolining, any up and down, can also do this. Whenever you get stung by a mosquito, whenever you got bit by a bee, you'd be so surprised Don't be concerned about that. Embrace that. Embrace it, because it's part of your body's perfect response to heal, and you can heal up from other conditions also as a result of some healing taking place.
How was skin brushing for that?
Skin brushing, wonderful. Dry brushing your skin. Starting and working your way up towards your heart. Starting with your feet, working your way to the trunk here, then your hands to here, and then your trunk, and then your head.
What happened to your face?
Face last. Yeah, face last. Skin brushing is very, very powerful.
Do you recommend other supplements?
Well, for the most part, if that's a whole food vitamin mineral complex, does it come from nature? Yes. You can supplement. Like marine minerals, it comes from, nature.
Vitamin C, vitamin E.
We have a super C, which is all the very best powerful berries from nature.
Vitamin D.
We have this in various formulas, like our energy ginseng formula. But it's all natural, not anything synthetic.
Like that?
And no isolates. No, I don't recommend that, and the reason why is because it's a free-form type of oxygen which really oxidizes and acidifies the body. It rusts the body. When you eat a piece of fruit, you cannot get free-formed oxygen like that. You can get dissolved oxygen, which is helpful, but if you drink your urine, you're getting an enormous amount of hydrogen peroxide. And catalase is the most abundant enzyme in all of our cells, and that breaks hydrogen peroxide into water, breaks it down to oxygen and water, oxygen and hydrogen. It breaks it down. So urine indirectly can be very, very helpful for oxygenating, but these therapies are not good. Well, one thing is, the question is about how could somebody check to see if you do have gallstones. Most everybody does have gallstones in the room. Most everybody does. Some of us really have a major occlusion and things are not really moving very well as it can. I really would recommend the 14-day Lifefood nutritional fast to get rid of bile occlusion, because your liver can only function properly as a result of getting proper bile flow.
What if somebody has their gallbladder?
You have a bile occlusion, incredibly, because the bile bladder already got removed, but it doesn't get at the root. It's just the trimming of the branches.
Right.
See, what we're talking about is getting at the root more.
How about cancer and urine?
Wonderful. Oh my God, it's one of the major reasons why I do this. Because there's so many anti-neoplastic compounds in the urine. When I inject urine, I assist somebody to inject urine into the tumour, it will melt the tumour where you inject the urine. Malignant or non-malignant. Malignant goes quickly, clears up.
So can you apply it topically?
Yes, you can do. Very helpful. Unbelievable. We have people get their urine to be stale in the fridge, and after 3 weeks they take a teaspoon of it 3 times a day. Very helpful.
What about human growth hormone?
Human growth hormone is right there in the urine if you bring it in through an enema, or you bring it stale in over the skin.
What did you say,
Stale urine, yeah, stale urine. So I'm so glad that you're picking up some of what I'm saying, because I've got a bit of an accent, right? And I maybe even sometimes have a bit of a lisp.
But at older age, does the body produce less and less?
Yes, but if you bring your urine in, you'll produce pro-opiomelanocortin more so, and you'll stimulate more a nice amount from your anterior trough of your anterior pituitary.
Can you do it for the skin?
You can do it through the skin. It's absorbed through the skin. Okay, we've got a question over here, and then back.
If we're still eating, something,
Yes.
when do you recommend drinking your urine?
Oh gosh, so wonderful. You can drink it just straight after eating because it'll help digest your food. It's so amazing. You can drink it any time. It'll help move your bowels.
How many times a day?
Oh gosh. Gee, did you know that, put up your hand if you've heard about the benefits of melatonin. Okay. There's so much that's written about that, and so much that's hardly even known. It's so incredible. Melatonin is so powerful. Did you know that there's more melatonin in any supplement you could ever take out there in your first morning's urine? And it's a major antioxidant for your gallbladder and this area and everything. Melatonin produces pro-opiomelanocortin. That's the mother molecule in the body. You can't hardly make any hormones without this. This is the very substance that allows you to be able to make hormones. as much as you feel drawn to comfortably, and rest and rotate, and don't do the same thing all the time. But I drink most of mine, and if I spill it, I'm like seeing I'm wasting it, sort of. You know, like. Okay, let's see. We had a question here, and then we have over here, and then here. Wonderful, because it's anti-mold, anti-fungus, anti-yeast. Your urine is. Our Usnea uva eartha spalancys formula goes after all of that sporulative forms of life forms that are dysbiotic. It helps alkalize the terrain and directly goes after all of that dysbiotic spores. Yes, that's right. But no, because it doesn't get rid of your false lining. It doesn't get rid of your acid terrain. It doesn't change your behaviour. You see, it's an acting on momentarily. Whereas you've got to do something that can change your overall terrain to build up your blood-borne inhibitors within your own blood. You see. Okay, let's see. Who was next? Question. Okay, over here.
What I was going to ask you is about autoimmune disease.
Okay, endometriosis is typically because of a couple of things. First, bile is not flowing as well as what it can. So there's congestion here. When food doesn't move through the small intestine, mold, fungus and yeast is produced, and that creates a mycotoxin. That mycotoxin is thrust to the periphery of self where it vasoconstricts. Congestion comes to be, blood flow less than flows very well. During the menses, you're supposed to absorb all of that blood back into your body, but if there's toast there in the blood wants to blanch itself and bleed that space and hemorrhage out. If the blood and the bleeding can't happen this way properly because bleached tampons not cleaned or taken out regularly during the process, congestion, dioxin, because you're a milk drinker and you're drinking milk and people are burning rubbish and it goes over all the plants and the cows eat this and it gets in their flesh and milk, and you're a milk drinker and you do a lot of that, you could have dioxin in the body. Dioxin has a chemical affinity for endometrial tissue. Endometriosis is typically because blood, rather than having moved out, got deposited more this way, and then cells became in places that were endometriosis cells where they shouldn't. But we have great success turning this around. I bring in subcutaneous urine injections. We bring in progesterone to help balance excess estrogen. And we do castor packs and we do suppositories that are tucked up close to the cervix at night. And we work with this and heal this up. There's hardly a doctor that you know of that has a more powerful insight into menstruation and amenopause and dysmenopause and all of these sorts of things more than I know about this, and how to heal endometriosis or cysts, or cervical conditions and this sort of a thing. Yes, it does. Yes, it does, because one of the primary conditions is acids present in the plasma causing myelin sheathing to break down into mycoplasma, and that mycoplasma assembles itself into a spirochete. And that is in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease.
So the attack won't be cured.
No, because you'll notice that if you ask your relative or someone who has that, are there things that you do that can make this worse? They'll say yes. Is there things that you can do that makes this better? They'll say yes. It's controlled by things you do. Yes, it is. It's controlled by things you do.
Families do.
That's right. Even though there can also be some slight genetic disposition, we all have been taught because of geneticists that must be the reason why people have conditions, but it's not. You'd be shocked to realize that our cells didn't arrive through mitotic cell division. Arthritis. Arthritis really is because of inflammation of the joint because of food allergy. I heal people up from this condition. Major knotty joints and things, and I have suffered with juvenile arthritis in my own life, and I've learned lots about this. No reason to suffer from arthritis. You could do some Lifefood nutritional cleansing and heal this up, and I can give you a formula to help clear away the pain.
How long do you think the endometriosis?
takes a very short time. Straight away, typically, the menses is more comfortable. And people reduce the condition itself. It can matter by how much are you really moving your bowels now, and how much are you able to bleed if you need to bleed, and have you stopped offending toxins and things. And we can regulate your autoimmune system back again to go after anything which is not meant to be there, cell-wise.
Yeah, I'll just ask you for somebody else.
It takes maybe a month or two.
And I want to pass the information.
Yeah, it takes a month or two. But we have great success with this condition. One of the places in the country that has this the most, did you know, is New Orleans?
What end of the
Yes. Women in New Orleans suffer enormously more than any other people in the whole of the world. Because the plants that refine and the burning of waste dumps enormous amounts of dioxins on their land, and then the animals eat that, and then these people are eating the flesh of that and drinking the milk of that. Very, 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 very bad. Extremely, because the animal's fat and blood becomes laden with this. Like a vacuum cleaner for this.
Can you benefit from this program?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. That's such a great question. Of course, absolutely. That's such a great question. You know, I recommend to be kind and gentle and allowing. You know, some people go, oh my God, I don't know, I know about these few other things, but gee, an enema, I don't know if I can do that. Be relaxed. There could be something that could be less than, you know, be kind and gentle and allowing. Oh, it's so important. Somebody comes to me, you know, and they said, you know, Dr. Jubb, the reason why I came to you is because I heard that you would be allowing. True. Something happened to you when you were little, and you need to have that little bit of wine, you know?
Finish breakfast in the bathroom.
Yeah. Say it again?
Does that mean that you would allow a hamburger?
Of course, be allowing a little of yourself.
Store out.
Oh, I think I have great compassion for you who are changing things around. It's so incredible. Okay, we've got one question. 11 to 9. 11 in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. One question over here and then one question, we're wrapping up.
Do you recommend saunas?
Saunas, sweating can be very helpful, unbelievable. But you've got to make sure you're mineralized.
Do you value the benefits of it?
Oh, cooking it is no good once you cook it. No. Far infrared saunas and this sort of technology, wonderful, incredible, incredible, very amazing.
If you should eat before noon.
I'll wait until at least the sun is high in the heavens to be able to eat, around the noon. If you get up at noon, gee, maybe you don't have to eat straight away. Jenny. 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. About 1.5.
1.5
About
hours.
1.5.
1.5 hours.
1.5 hours.
That's good.